Welcome to the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
Hello, Heisman.
Chuck Conrad with a kickoff. Roy has a strong leg, end over end. Sanders takes it 1 yard deep to the end zone. Up the middle, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. He's at the 40. He's at 45, 50, 45, 40, 45, 30, 25, 20, 50, 10, 5. Touchdown. Just like last year, a same goal.
And the winner is...
Here's your host, Chris Houston.
Welcome to this week's episode of the official Heisman Trophy podcast. September is in the rearview mirror. We are now in October. This is my favorite month. The leaves are changing. You can wear a light sweater, turn off the AC. And of course, college football is about to get really good. Not that September wasn't a tremendous month. One of the big games coming up this Saturday is Iowa at number 3 Ohio State. And with that matchup in mind, our featured guest on this week's episode is the Hawkeyes junior running back, Kaleb Johnson. Johnson is currently second in the nation in rushing at 171 yards per game. He is second to Ashton Jeanty of Boise State, who was on the official Heisman Trophy podcast earlier in the season. We also talked to 1967 Heisman Trophy winner Gary Beeben of UCLA. He's going to talk a lot about the idyllic setting that was Los Angeles in the mid-1960s and just the amazing roll call of athletes who emerged from that period and place. And then we're going to close out the show with Andrew So, the executive director of South Bronx United, a very impressive charitable organization with which the Heisman Trophy Trust is involved. But before we get to that, how about a little Heisman punditry? The following update is the opinion of the host of the show and does not reflect the opinion of the Heisman Trophy Trust. Who won September? That's the question. And here's an answer in 4 parts. Part 1, Jalen Milroe, Alabama. The junior signal caller for the nation's number 1 team has 1,237 yards of total offense in 4 games. He has accumulated 10 passing touchdowns and 8 rushing touchdowns for a total of 18 total touchdowns. He is currently on pace to have over 4,000 yards of total offense and 59 total touchdowns by the time the Heisman vote is due. I don't know whether he'll keep up that pace, but it stands to reason that given his natural progression as a quarterback, plus his progression inside of Kalen DeBoer's system, there still may be a lot of upside there. And of course, his massive game against Georgia, 374 yards passing, 117 rushing, 4 total touchdowns, that game will act as his tentpole the rest of the year. Part 2, Travis Hunter, wide receiver, cornerback, Colorado. Merely doing things that no one has done in college football for decades. He's got 46 receptions for 561 yards and 6 touchdowns already through 5 games. Over on defense, he's got 16 tackles, 3 pass breakups, a tackle for a loss, a forced fumble, and 2 interceptions. Players who can capture the imagination of Heisman Trophy voters do very well in the Heisman Trophy race. And Hunter is one of those players. Part 3 is Ashton Jeanty of Boise State. Through 4 games, the junior running back has 845 yards and 13 touchdowns and is averaging 10.3 yards per carry. He is currently on pace to break some of the most hallowed records in college football history. And the closer he gets, the more people are going to tune in to see if he does it. And if he does it, then he's going to be tough to beat. And finally, there's quarterback Cam Ward of Miami, formerly of Incarnate Word and Washington State. He's on pace for over 4,700 yards of total offense and 52 touchdowns. He's got the Canes at 5-0, off to one of their best starts in a while. And what's going to attract voters to him is the return to glory narrative. Could it finally be the case that Miami is back? If the answer to that is yes, then Cam Ward will reap the benefits when it comes to the Heisman Trophy race. Now let's caveat all this by acknowledging that there's still a long way to go this season. We are maybe only a third of the way through, and a lot can happen, a lot will happen in October. By the way, for you dedicated fans of the show, you might notice that 3 of these 4 players have been featured guests on the official Heisman Trophy podcast. And we're working on getting Travis Hunter for next week. So while these 4 players currently, I think, lead the Heisman Trophy race, there's a group of players waiting in the wings, ready to step forward as the season goes on. There are several players out there with the potential to catch fire this month, and one of them is this week's featured guest, Kaleb Johnson. He has been an absolute beast so far this year, and he's on pace to rush for over 2,000 yards. And there is an opportunity for him this Saturday against Ohio State. Have a big game against the Buckeyes, and he's suddenly in the thick of the Heisman conversation. And we're going to start talking to him right after these words from Barry Sanders.
Hey guys, this is Barry Sanders, the 1988 Heisman Trophy winner, and you are listening to the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
We're here with Kaleb Johnson, a 6', 225-pound junior running back out of Iowa, who after 4 games is second in the nation in rushing at 171 yards per game. He's also scored 9 touchdowns, is averaging an eye-popping 8.4 yards per carry. His Hawkeyes are 3-1, and he's coming off a career high 206 yards rushing against Minnesota. And after a bye week, Iowa travels to Columbus next week to take on number 3 Ohio State. Kaleb, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, you're off to a great start this season after being injured quite a bit as a sophomore. You're the first Iowa back to score at least 2 touchdowns in the first 4 games of the season since 1997. Coming off that injury last year, what kind of preparation did you go through in the offseason to get yourself ready for your junior year?
I just did the little basics by going back and, just recovering. That's the main thing, is just going in there, make sure I'm getting physical therapy in like 3 times a day, every day, because I basically lived in a training room when I was hurt, because all I wanted to do was get back to my team and help my team win. So that's the only thing I really did, was just like go back and, just really heal my ankle and give it time to rest and, put my mental into the game too, because I need to learn the playbook too also. So that's all I did, cheer my teammates on, and, now we're here. So
now you got full command of the playbook, and you're constantly going for making sure your body's all taken care of afterwards, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There was a run early against Minnesota. I think it was your 4th carry of the game. Cade McNamara under center. Mm-hmm. You had 3 straight runs up the middle, and you popped this one outside and just barely stepped out of bounds at the one. I thought that was just a really outstanding run. What do you remember about that one?
I remember really it was supposed to be outside zone and me cutting it up, but I remember it just being so clogged, and my one of my old linemen chop blocked down the dude, so it was really clogged in the hole. So I just said, dang it, I just went outside. That's all I could do. So broke a tackle, broke a few tackles, and got out of the field being aggressive. So
yeah, shame you didn't score on that one, but you got the touchdown. I think one play later. Yep. Much of the game was just you pounding up the middle until you found a crease. I noticed that a lot of your best runs happen with the QB under center. Do you prefer to run when the QB's under center?
To me, right now, it really don't matter, because I like from the gun too. So it gives me a chance to read it more and stuff like that. From the under center, it's the same thing, but it's more like quicker. So
yeah,
I don't know. I like both. Yes. I don't have a specific preference for them. So
tell me about your offensive line. When you're pounding the ball over and over and you guys are huddling, what's your communication like? Do they help fire you up, or is it all business in there?
It's all business. It's strictly business. And, we get fired up in a huddle, and we just say, let's go. Let's bring it to them. Let's show them what we can do. So I just really, just appreciate my O-line for opening up them holes. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have scored no touchdowns, have no yards, no nothing. So I just really give all my credit to my O-line and, my wide receivers and my tight ends for blocking for me and allowing me to do what I need to do.
Yeah. One thing I like about you and how you run is your forward lean. You've got your helmet over your toes in most carries. There's not much wasted movement. How would you describe your running style?
I describe my running style as more like a, get vertical guy, one cut, get vertical. I don't like juking. If I have to, then I will, but that's not my preference at all. I like running over people. I like stiff arming. I like outrunning, catching balls in the backfield, getting upfield. So
yeah. You're averaging 24 carries per game last 3 games. Does that feel like that's the upper limit of your capabilities, or do you feel like you have more gas in the tank in some games coming up?
I feel like I can have way more gas in the tank right now. Feel me? I can just feel like keep going. So whatever they do for me, whatever they set me up at, I'm gonna do it at my full potential. So it's helping my team win. So whatever I can do to do that, then I do it.
Yeah, you're out of Hamilton, Ohio, which is in the Cincinnati area. How did football become your sport growing up?
Really, football was not my sport. First of all, it was actually baseball. Okay. Baseball was like actually my sport, and then told my pops that I saw someone on the billboard. I think it was Derrick Henry on the billboard one time. I was like, "Ooh, pops, let me. I want to do that." Da, da, da. And he said, "We go try." And after that, it was just history from there. So,
2016 Heisman Trophy winner Derrick Henry. I hear your grandfather was a big influence on you. What did he do to help you become the player you are today?
Man, that man did everything he could, and I just really appreciate him so much for just like sacrificing things to make me, happy and keep me satisfied and stuff like that, and keep me focused. And it's just like he just did everything he could to just to put me in the position I am now. So without him, I won't be here. So I just really appreciate him and my grandma for everything they did.
That's awesome. When did you realize that football was going to be your thing?
I realized that when I was like 5, 6. I just
Wow.
really it was just there. It was just like football, baseball, football, baseball, football, baseball. And then when I got to high school, my pops had to tell me to make a decision on what we need to focus on. So I said football. So after that, it's just head forward football now. So
What position did you play in baseball?
first baseman, pitcher, and left field.
Wow. Okay. Which one did you like the best?
Pitcher, because I'm
So you were
left-handed. So
Perfect.
yeah.
You were going to be a pitcher. So who were your football teams growing up in Cincinnati?
Well, right now, it was in between the Dallas Cowboys and the Seattle Seahawks. And the reason why I like the Dallas Cowboys so much was because I followed Ezekiel Elliott when he was with Ohio State, 2015, 2016, all them times when he was rushing and stuff like that. And I just followed him then. And then he went to the Cowboys, and I like the Cowboys. And I like CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons, all of them. So it's just, it's just a lot of character built up there. So
Yeah. I saw that you started out maybe I think it was 5 or 6, or maybe later. You were a defensive lineman at first in Pop Warner. When did you turn into a running back?
So that's a funny story because it was when I was little. I played D-line, and then I saw the ball, and I was just getting pancake after play after play after play. I went to my pops after the game. I was like, "Look, I'm all dirty, and my whole front was clean, but my back was dirty." So it was just after that, it was just history after that. So when I came to my first grade, when I was 8, that's when I started playing running back, and that's when it started getting straight to business, and doing our little things to what I can do to be a running back, because I was a pretty big running back.
Oh yeah. When you see opposing D linemen get pancaked by your O-line, you can say, "I know what that feels like," right?
Yeah.
Who were your running back role models back in your high school days?
Like I said, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Najee Harris, Eric Dickerson, Barry Sanders. Yeah. So
Yeah, going old school, Eric Dickerson and Barry Sanders. That's awesome. You originally committed to the Cal Bears before flipping over to Iowa. Tell me about your recruitment, what you liked about Cal so much, and why you ended up becoming a Hawkeye.
In general, I just like the recruitment process in general, because you could just on the weekends, instead of staying home, you could take visits from a different state that you've never been to and try it out for a whole weekend, and then go next weekend and try a whole different one out. So it was really fun. And, but with Cal, the reason why I committed to them was because of the coaching and the schooling. I heard the schooling is really, really, really good down there. So that's another reason why. And then I could have played early there too also. So, and AT, he's a good running back coach. So when I came to Iowa, I was committed. They told me to take a visit. I took a visit during the Penn State game when we beat Penn State at Kinnick. And after that, I just said, I'm here. I'm committed. So I had to tell the coach that I want to decommit and commit to Iowa. So rest is history from there.
Yeah, it sounded like you had a lot of fun on your visits. What were some of the highlights of those visits?
Just taking it all in, just seeing the stadium and looking at it and imagining myself inside the stadiums and different stuff. So when I came to Iowa and saw that, I was just, I want to play here.
Yeah. Your running backs coach is former NFLer Liddell Betts. I think he recruited you too, right? What are some of the things he's working on with you right now to help make you a better back?
The little things, pass protection, getting out to my routes faster, running even harder than I'm running now. So, because my capability is, and I believe in him, he believes in me. So that's just the connection we got, and we can tell each other anything. So me and him, we have a really good, strong connection, and I listen to everything he has to say because he's been there. So
you're a very goal-oriented person. So what kind of personal goals did you set for yourself this year, and how specific did you get?
One goal, I manifest every day. So one goal that I set was to get over 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns. So I'm on a roll for that. So
yeah, you're almost there.
Yeah. So I want to get even more. So it was that, and to be successful in life, and to win the Doak Walker Award. So that's my whole point.
Awesome. What are you studying at Iowa?
Right now, I'm studying enterprise leadership business.
And what is enterprise leadership? I think it's kind of a new name.
It's like balance on everything, like financing, business, marketing, real estate, all that. So it's just like all of those bundled up together.
Yeah. So, what's the favorite part about that major that really draws you to it?
It's just you just like selling your products. You can sell your products. You can like invest and all that. So I feel like I can do that. So I'm a very tech guy. So yeah, so I feel like that fits me well because before I was going to do computer science and information technology. So, but I had to do a lot for that. So I just say enterprise leadership.
Yeah, it's like in this day and age, college football players have to be good at all that stuff now, right?
Man, exactly.
Ohio State coming up next, big game, number 3. You have an extra week to prepare. Preview this game for me a little bit.
Man, I feel like our run game is awesome right now. So I feel like we just gonna keep, relying on that and, come out with passes and, play Iowa football. So, that's all we gonna do. We just being neutral right now, being calm and, taking it day by day. And you feel me, doing the play at a time. So that's what we're doing now. So.
Yeah, you can't come on a Heisman podcast without talking a little Heisman. I know we mentioned Derrick Henry and Barry Sanders in the past. Are there any other past Heisman winners you really enjoyed watching?
Reggie Bush.
Reggie Bush, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So. And any current running backs like in the league that you try to look up to and emulate?
Derrick Henry. Who else?
That's all you need. All you need is Derrick Henry.
That's really what I'll be looking for. So. Follow my footsteps after. So
awesome. Hey, Kaleb Johnson, appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on the official Heisman Trophy podcast. Good luck this Saturday against Ohio State, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you so much.
The Heisman is handed out every December, but the history of the trophy lives year-round at Heisman.com. Home to the most iconic trophy in sports, Heisman.com tells the stories of all 88 of our winners and features news, bios, and statistics on all your favorite Heisman heroes. Heisman.com also highlights our Heisman humanitarians, the many charities supported by the Heisman Trust, and so much more. Make Heisman.com your first stop for all things Heisman. We are here with the great one, Gary Beeben, the 1967 Heisman Trophy winner from UCLA. Gary, thanks for coming on the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
Well, Chris, thank you very much for the invitation to participate.
We talked to you a little bit last year when you came up for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. We talked to you, and then right after you, we talked to Mike Garrett. And it was interesting to me because he won the Heisman Trophy in 1965, and I believe your plays prevented him from going to the Rose Bowl. And then we talked to you, who won the Heisman Trophy in 67, and some plays by a USC guy prevented you from going to the Rose Bowl that year. But I thought it was really interesting to have just two players played in the same city, Heisman Trophy winners, almost back to back, just 1 year separated. And we talked a little bit about this online. And before we get into all the details of your career, just the extraordinary athletic talent accumulated in the city of Los Angeles at those universities, USC, UCLA, in the, let's call it from 1964 to 69, that incredible period. What do you remember about that period in a broad sense? And do you think that's something that doesn't get the recognition it deserves?
Well, it's interesting that you asked the question because I've thought of this quite often over the years. If you take a look at what was going on between the two schools at the time, let's just start at 64. I mean, I literally learned the UCLA 8 clap at the Los Angeles airport as I was greeting the UCLA basketball team back from the NC2A championship game, beating Duke for their first title. So that's how I actually met as a recruit, Walt Hazzard and Gail Goodrich,
right?
Keith Erickson. Meanwhile, back at campus, there's Rayford Johnson and C.K. Yang are working out at the track through Ducky Drake for the Olympics. Arthur Ashe and Charles Purcell are playing tennis. We had actually some very good football players on the prior team. And then across town, we've got a guy named Severs, who was playing on the SC baseball team. let alone Mike Garrett and a slew of outstanding football players who we happened to just get lucky on one certain day. So that just gives you a sense. That's not even talking about UCLA's volleyball team that was winning NC2A championships, even though they weren't recognized as that at the time. But this city literally was the Athens of college athletics in the mid-'60s. It's the start of the Pac-12. Ironically, we're talking on the demise of the Pac-12. It actually was the start of a 20-year run in which the Pac-12 won 16 out of 20 Rose Bowls. And we started it beating Michigan State in January of 66. And actually 5 of the next 10 Heisman winners come from the West Coast. The Beeman, Garrett, O.J., Plunkett run. So all of a sudden...
And also Terry Baker even before that.
Terry Baker before that in 62. Yeah. So, I mean, it was just an incredible age, rich in successes for the West Coast. And I have always considered myself very, very fortunate to have been one playing at UCLA at the time, and in Southern California among all these players and a gentleman like Mike Garrett.
But you weren't from Southern California. You were from Sequoia High up in Redwood City, Bay Area. Yes. For those who don't know, just a little bit north of Palo Alto. You had a successful football career, obviously, at Sequoia, and you were considering where you wanted to spend your college days. And for a kid who is in Northern California at that time period, what is the perception of Los Angeles? What are you thinking when the schools down there are asking you to come play down there? What are you thinking about the city, especially as it compares to the city that you come from, the area you come from?
Well, in the mid-'60s, Southern California was surfing USA. And my parents were very flexible. They allowed me. I actually went to UCLA 4 or 5 times without UCLA knowing that I was there. But for me, coming out of Redwood City and being born and raised in San Francisco, North Beach, Italian was my first language. Westwood Village to me was sort of a mini North Beach. And I got very comfortable at UCLA very quickly. I just didn't let them know it. And probably in the back of my mind, that's where I was heading. Plus, there were 2 senior quarterbacks, Steve Sindel and Larry Zeno, who would be graduating when I show up as a sophomore or after my freshman year. So all the parts were just right. And the campus felt right for me. Westwood Village reminded me of North Beach. And I could see apartments less than 20 minutes from the beach. So it was a very easy decision for me once I considered that one, Cal was and Stanford were too close to home. Stanford dropped me for Menlo College because suddenly my grades weren't good enough in the middle of my senior year when they pulled a kid down from the state of Washington. So suddenly my grades weren't good enough. That's another story. Eventually my high school transcript was published in the local paper. But
wow,
going to UCLA was an easy one, especially after Marv Gu at SC told me in a letter that I was too small and too slow to play at SC.
What an incredible thing for him to say, considering that he was an undersized linebacker and was considered too slow. It's interesting. Anyway, go ahead.
My dad kept the letter. It's in the scrapbook.
How did you get involved in football? Like what drew you to the sport, and then when did you realize you were pretty good at it?
Well, I didn't play my freshman year at all. I played basketball and baseball. And baseball was the game I loved. And when the baseball coach came to me and said, well, Joe Marvin, the football coach, and the high school was on a 29-game winning streak, the longest in California at the time, has just told me that if you don't come out for football, you're not going to be playing baseball. So I guess that's known as an arm twist. And so my sophomore year, I played freshman, sophomore. They had that in those days.
Yeah.
So I started on the varsity team as a single wing tailback. And most of the people in the stands had never seen Sequoia High School lose. We were on the verge of a 29-game winning streak.
Wow.
And we took it to 34 and lost.
It's hard to get past 34.
It was a long night, let me tell you.
Yeah. Wow. Coming out of Sequoia, you go down to UCLA, and if I recall, there's sort of a sea change in college football going on around that time, right? I think you're just, because the previous 5, 6, 7 let's say the previous decade, there had been all kinds of crazy rule changes, a lot of chaos with the rules, right? With substitutions and so on and so forth. But now you had, I think it was 64 was the first year where it was fully double platoon. I'm pretty sure.
Yes. I'm not sure if that was the first year, but let's put it this way. I never played defense.
Right. Well, they had experimented with a couple years where they had double platoon, but they had never stuck with it. And they'd gone back, and then that's why you had, like, over at LSU, you had the Chinese bandits and the
Chinese bandits
stuff,
and Paul Diesel, you bet.
Yeah,
you
so
bet. They were my favorite.
Right. And because of these substitution rules. So now you're coming in and you're not playing any defense. You're a quarterback, right?
Well, in those days, there was a real freshman team. There were 40 of us on scholarship, plus walk-ons, plus anybody that wanted to get beat up by the varsity during the summertime, which is what the freshman team used to be.
Yeah.
So we were there, and we actually had 3 games. We played Stanford and Cal and USC, and we won 2 and tied 1.
The Babes?
Pardon me?
Bruin Babes? Is that what you were called?
The Bruin Babes. We beat Stanford and SC. We beat SC 14-7, and we tied Cal up in the mud in Berkeley. So we had 3 games.
What kind of crowds did you get for those freshman games?
There were barely ghosts in the stands.
If you put freshman games, if you had freshman games now, they'd get a lot of crowds, I think. I think people would be really into those.
One of my issues today is I still don't think freshmen should be playing varsity football. If you think about big movements in one's life, it's probably the first time the individual's away from home. It's the first time mom's not around cooking or doing the laundry. You have to find your own way to the bathroom. Plus, you got girls around. You got studies. Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, let's play varsity football.
Right.
For me, I happen to think there's plenty of time to play varsity football. And I'm not sure that these kids really get their feet on the ground anymore and really understand the value of the academics that they have to go and take on. But that's another issue for another day.
You were majoring in European history?
Yes.
That was your field?
Yes.
When you came on your recruiting trip, did you know that's what you wanted to study, or did it take time for you to figure that out?
No, I knew that one coming in. I wanted to try to figure out and know better why one country was in the center of 2 world wars. That's it. It was that simple.
Right.
And it's not because somebody it wasn't an argument at the house. It was just one of those things that popped up during history class in high school, and I just wanted to know more about it. And boy, was I lucky. I had Robert Dallek as a professor who eventually went on to be quite a historian, wrote books on Robert F. Kennedy. It was just a great time to be at UCLA, both from the academic and the athletic. And then, of course, you pile it on with what was going on in Southern California.
Tell me about January 5th, 1965.
That's the day that Tommy Prothro decided to leave Oregon State. They had just lost in the Rose Bowl to Michigan, and he decides to come to UCLA. And at that time, the varsity senior class was 10 wins, 20 losses. And he decided to take us on. And it was the most critical step because without him and his coaching staff, the next 3 years would have been a very miserable time.
What did he do differently? Because he's known as an innovator. Right? He was known as an innovative coach. What did he do differently from other coaches?
Without getting into the individuals, he brought down a great staff, brought over Pepper Rogers from the South.
Future coach.
They made decisions after watching us practice to implement an offensive and defensive system or systems that allowed whatever talent we had to maximize its potential. They moved some players around. The juniors and seniors they left the sophomores, my class, alone. We played the positions that we came in on. Mm-hmm. But a couple of the juniors and seniors moved around. And there wasn't much recruiting that went on for them other than they ran around some of the JCs and picked up a couple of critical players. Probably the most critical one was Dallas Grider out of Bakersfield. But in essence, I think the great skill, aside from great game plans, was the ability to assess whatever talent we did have that they saw and then put us in offensive and defensive systems that allowed us to play at our highest potential.
We talked about the USC-UCLA game of 67 a little bit earlier. I don't want to get too much into that because that game's been talked about a lot. But you had a career-high 301 yards passing in that game, 2 touchdown passes. Setting aside the loss and the circumstances around it, did that performance at least give you some idea of your capabilities as a passer?
Yeah, I was hoping that I could have played that game without the rib injury that I had. It didn't give me the chance to be as mobile as I needed to be against, an SC team that had 9 first-round draft choices. I mean, yeah, they were loaded.
Yeah.
And we lost 21-20. So, yes, and plus we didn't have Pepper up in the box. And if Pepper had been up there, I think there might have been even more passing. So, I was pleased in that sense that we were able to move the ball that well against the air. SC did not pass the ball once that game.
Is that right? That's incredible.
Steve Soggy was the quarterback, and they had Earl McCullough as one of the receivers and Klein as a tight end. And all they did was run. All they did was run one great running back.
Yeah, probably still the pinnacle of that rivalry, I would say that year. Tell me about how you found out you won the Heisman Trophy.
Well, life was a little different then. There wasn't quite the buildup either during the season or at announcement time. And actually, I was in my apartment studying finals. We did have to go to class in those days. And I got a call from J.D. Morgan, who said, you're needed in Franklin Murphy's office, who was the chancellor of the school. And I thought to myself, uh-oh. And then I think, well, maybe the announcement's been made. I was aware that the announcement was going to come down. So I show up in my corduroy sport coat, and there's some press people there. Tommy's there. And that's how I learned. There was not the kind of preview television shows and all the buildup that goes on today. And in fact, we were so focused on trying to win the national championship, I really hadn't thought much about the trophy at all. And realistically, you don't play the game to win trophies. You play to win games and championships. And it's an add-on. It's a wonderful add-on, and it's been something I think my teammates appreciated because they know that their game and how they played it would not be forgotten. Because it's not forgotten. You're visited every year, sort of like this. But it certainly wasn't the show that it is today.
62, you had Baker, like you mentioned. 64 was John Hewitt at Notre Dame, but he was from the West Coast, modern day.
Yeah,
you had Mike Garrett in 65. You in 67, OJ in 68, Plunkett in 69. So that's
Plunkett was 70.
I'm sorry, Plunkett in 70. My mistake. Yeah, Plunkett in 70.
Yes.
So
Steve Owens
right. That's 6 winners in 7 seasons, basically, who were from the West Coast, 5 who played on the West Coast.
Yes.
Did you guys have a special bond over the years as you came back to ceremonies? Were you guys like, hey, that's my West Coast crew? These are the guys that were from my period, and we all kind of helped build this thing up together?
Well, I think we had a glance at each other, knowing that we helped build West Coast football. And I think we all recognized how fortunate we were to be playing on the West Coast at that time, because we did get a run. The Rose Bowl was a West Coast winning series for 20 years. The winners were coming from the West. So we thought we were playing the best football, college football in the country, and we were. And it was a prideful thing, and it allowed us to say hello to each other a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. And then, you mentioned during your senior season, you guys didn't talk about the Heisman, but over the years, almost 60 years on from that win, what has the Heisman come to mean to you, and what have you observed as far as its place in college football?
Well, it certainly has become the most significant award in the trophy case. But my feeling is the same today as when it was initially announced that basically our time on the field, the 65, 66, and 67 UCLA teams, the hard work that we had done, the games we had won, the games we lost, really would not be forgotten. Back in the mid 60s, one college game was on Saturday afternoon. And this is hard to believe, but the station then used to erase that film to use it for the next Saturday. So, for example, the 65 UCLA USC game, where we hit a couple late passes to win the game, nobody has that film. It's gone. So when I say our time on the field will not be forgotten, literally, the trophy does that. And I know that when I have the occasion to meet with reunions with some of the guys, it's appreciated. And it does give us an anchor to our days on the field.
You were drafted by the Rams coming out. Tell me about your attempt at a pro career and what led you to eventually give up football and move into private business.
Well, I had been disappointed that it wasn't until early in the second round, but it was LA, and that was really exciting for me. I literally had not seen much snowfall in my life, right, being in California.
Same stadium too.
Yeah, and same town. Unfortunately, Dan Reeves at the time was not well. It was terrible negotiations, and my representative had the wherewithal to figure out a better place for me to at least try and start. And then the mistake we made, I should have looked harder at Canada, because the type of game that's played there would have been a little more to my fancy. Mm-hmm. And I should have looked at Vancouver. I was actually drafted by Toronto. And to me, Toronto meant Antarctica. And I didn't really think twice about Canada.
Yeah.
But the opportunity to go to the Redskins was a positive step in my mind, as much as I didn't want to leave California. I'd never lived out of California. I didn't know much about any place other than California. I actually had a discussion with Paul Brown, who offered to perhaps consider me as a first-round pick at Cincinnati, which would have been a first-round pick, period. And I had dinner with him in L.A., and I said, Coach, I can't even spell Cincinnati. I don't even know where it is on the map. And he said, yeah, I appreciate your frankness. If you're not happy where you live, you're not going to play well. And life moved on. So I was excited about going to the Redskins and the opportunity to learn the game from one of the greats. And I will tell you, I don't think there are many quarterbacks, even today, who play the game who could throw the way Sonny Jurgensen could pass.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that sense, I was excited about heading to the Skins.
So tell me about your transition going from football to your private career.
Well, it was becoming apparent, and particularly after the second year. People don't always remember Vince Lombardi was our head coach the second year. And he basically took the same team from my rookie year, from 68, added Larry Brown from Kansas State, and we went from the cellar to actually the playoffs. And if someone said, here's what's going to happen in your pro career, I'd say, I'll do it again because of the 1 year of, almost 2 years of being around Lombardi. Mm-hmm. That was, to me, my MBA. That was a real learning experience on how to manage and lead people.
And then you went off into a successful career, and is it banking or finance? What did you end up doing?
It was actually a real estate brokerage company in Los Angeles at the time, actually, and still is today, the largest in the industry. It was then Coldwell Banker. Mm-hmm. Today it's CBRE, and I was one of the lucky ones. I found something on my first shot that just grabbed me and kept me busy and happy and challenged for the next 46 years. And most players don't get that kind of opportunity coming out. And in a way, I'd almost thank Sonny for not being a great tutor because he would have delayed my entry into a business that was extremely good to me. And on top of that, I met some wonderful, wonderful people that are still friends.
Well, Gary Beaven, we really enjoyed you taking the time out of taking care of your ficus tree to hang out with us for a bit. Just enjoyed your thoughtful answers and talking about stuff that maybe we don't usually get a chance to talk about. So we appreciate you taking the time for the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I really enjoyed the opportunity to speak with you, Chris. Thank you.
You don't need to throw for over 4,000 yards or rush for 2,000 yards to attend the Heisman Gala. That's the annual celebration in New York to honor the Heisman Trophy winner the day after the announcement. Tickets to the gala are open to the public and will go on sale soon, so be sure to keep checking at Heisman.com for information on how to secure your seat and witness Heisman history. We are excited to welcome Andrew So, Executive Director of South Bronx United, yet another of the many charitable organizations the Heisman Trophy Trust supports. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us on the official Heisman Trophy podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
South Bronx United began in 2009, and you serve some 1,700 children annually of all ages, really. Tell us about your mission and which communities you're serving, which I hear are some of the most need-based groups of people in the country.
Yeah, our mission is to leverage the passion of soccer, so the other football, to engage young people, children and youth in the South Bronx. And the South Bronx does have one of the highest poverty rates in the whole country. A lot of people don't realize that, being just a short trip, subway trip or bridge over from Manhattan with everything, all the wealth and everything there. But yeah, there's a lot of needs here in the South Bronx, and our goal is to reach those and do it through the passion, through the power of sports.
Soccer worldwide, or football worldwide, is the sport of the youth and impoverished youth. You know, it's one of those things that you just take a ball and you can start playing, but it hasn't always caught on as easy amongst the youth in areas like the South Bronx. How do you attract kids to the sport in these areas?
Yeah, it's a good question because I think for a lot of folks, especially us on the little older side, didn't grow up with soccer as such an integral part, but I think it's grown in this country tremendously. So I think it's much more well known and taken to now. But I will say for our program, we do serve primarily youth from immigrant families and immigrant backgrounds. So we have a lot of youth that are coming, either their families moved here or they moved here, already with soccer as part of their blood and part of their culture. So it's not a hard stretch for them to jump in and engage them through the program. But I will say that we're growing throughout the broader community, and we have programs that start with children as young as 2, 3, 4 years old, and we have families, parents that are looking for any program, any recreational opportunities for their children to participate in, and they see now between the World Cup and see how the sport has grown and see how soccer as a sport lets kids run around and really express themselves, and they really take to it. So we do have a lot of, even though we serve primarily immigrant youth and families, we have tons of families that are coming in saying, hey, this looks like a great sport. I want to introduce this to my kids.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, the way you explain that. You really do have an impressive array of services that go well beyond sports, though. There are multiple levels of soccer teams and levels that you sponsor, but you probably spend more resources on all the academic missions supporting young students from elementary up through college. You're active in moving the social change needle. Please tell us about that.
Yeah, thanks. That's absolutely true. That most of our resources, and if someone goes to support the organization, most of the resources from that are actually going to our academic programs, to our college prep programs, and other social services that we provide to youth and families. Within our core program, we have young people that are coming in and spending up to 12 hours a week in our program. They're in after school and out of school time, and most of that is in the classroom or through mentorship programming. So for middle and high school students, they're in the classroom doing homework help, English and math workshops, social emotional learning groups, college prep. So we have 10th, 11th, 12th graders going through the whole college prep process with us. Most will be the first in their families to end up going to college. So it's supporting them in all the steps to get them on to higher education. And then we provide a range of college success and career success programming as well. So supporting them even after they're through high school, figuring out what are the careers, helping them through workforce development programming, a range of different supports. And then we also have social workers on staff that are providing direct social work services to youth and their families, from mental health services, helping connect them to other community resources. We provide immigration legal services in-house to youth and families that need that. So it's really a range of different supports to using the passion of soccer to bring them in, but then connecting them with the different resources and providing those academic and college prep supports directly to help them into the next stages of their lives and careers.
Yeah, it must take a very dedicated staff to make this happen. Tell me about how you hired your staff and how you choose the people to help implement this vision, and then what kind of infrastructure is in place for them to work on all this stuff.
Yeah, we've continued to grow to bring in the resources needed to support those young people. We now have about 23 full-time staff that are providing support in a range of different areas to youth and their families here. And as we were just talking about, the majority of those are on the academic side. So we have a staff that's in charge of working with seniors and alumni, those in college, connecting them with financial aid, helping them do the work through their college applications, connect them when they're thinking about, I'm struggling at school, I'm not sure what to do, or what are the best places to apply. We have a high school education manager, a middle school education manager working with those groups. We have coordinators that are working on a day-to-day level with youth in the classroom. We have someone in charge of our workforce development program. We have 2 social workers on staff. So it's a range of different programs supporting them. And then, of course, we have the team that's providing the programs on the field, provide community programs after school and on the weekends to support youth and families and giving them the joy of soccer and of recreational programming here in the Bronx. So it's a great team that comes together. And then on top of that, we employ some of our alumni. Youth have gone through our program as coaches and mentors, so they're coming back to coach after being in the program. We have other coaches and mentors that are working part-time. And then we have over 300 volunteers that are volunteering their time to come back and work with children and young people, either as coaches, as tutors, as mentors. So it does take the dedication of a lot of folks that are donating their time back to work with children and youth here in the South Bronx.
That's always a great sign when you have alumni of the organization coming back to help and to work. Early this year, you received a tremendous honor and a tremendous gift, a $2 million grant from Yield Giving, which I imagine really validates your work and propels it. And back in 2020, you were recognized with the Laureus Sport for Good Award in Berlin, Germany. Tell us about the grant and then this award, and what that meant for your organization.
Yeah, sure. I'll take it chronologically. So, in 2020, we had the opportunity to receive the Sport for Good Award from Laureus World Sports Awards. I think here in the U.S., a lot of people haven't heard of that, but internationally, it's kind of like World Sports was kind of like the ESPYs in Europe. So
wow.
It was an amazing honor. The Laureus Foundation supports a range of different initiatives that leverage sports for social good, particularly with youth around the world. So to be selected for that was a great honor. And I took 2 young people from our program out to Berlin, Germany to accept it. And we were in a room in front of Olympians and World Cup stars and a range of different amazing folks. I remember we had Simone Biles. She wasn't there, but got up on the video screen in front of everyone. We had several other Olympians. Hugh Grant gave us the award. Michael Johnson was in the room. So it was quite an amazing honor and a great experience. The young people that were able to join and kind of opened up the work that we do to a lot of other folks that are looking to either replicate and do something similar where they're at, or just introduce them to the work that we're doing. So that was a huge honor and certainly really memorable. And then, earlier this year, we received a grant from Mackenzie Scott Bezos, if you're familiar with her.
Oh, yeah.
Her Yield Giving award, and she's become really philanthropic over the past 5 years. And I think
she's giving away a lot of her money these days.
A lot of it. It's quite amazing. And last year was the first time they opened up a open RFP process that we applied to, along with, I think it was over tens of thousands that initially applied. It got narrowed down to about 6,500 to go through the process. And then we were fortunate to be able to be one of 360 organizations that end up receiving that award to support the work that we're doing in the community. And that's really been transformative, I think, especially as we try to make sure that our work is sustained. Because we're fundraising our budget year to year. Mm-hmm. Our 90% of our budget through private support, donations, grants, sponsorships, and the like. So to receive such a large donation really helps us sustain our work in the future years and make sure we're going to continue to be here and build our capacity to also grow that impact, reach more youth, expand our programs. So it's been quite amazing and honor to receive that and free us up to kind of figure out those next steps, how we can continue to grow our impact here.
Yeah, definitely wonderful news there. Like many organizations we've talked to, yours takes great pride in graduation rates for high school students and those that not only attend college but graduate from it. And then not only graduate, but you mentor these young people to be ready to take on life's challenges. Someone walks through that door at whatever age. What process do you have to identify who's the most at need, who's most in danger of maybe not getting to graduation, and do you what are the keys to success in identifying these children and trying to focus resources toward the ones that are most gravely in need?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're always trying to think about how to ensure we're serving youth with the need, and there is so much need here in the community that we know we're really touching just a sliver of it, and trying to work together with other organizations within the Bronx to really collaborate to see how collectively we can have a greater impact in the community, and how, as I was just talking about, how we can continue to grow our impact. So that's really important as we're looking to help be a part of transforming the South Bronx for good, and we're only touching a part. So it's a process. But to your specific question, we leverage the power of sports, and we leverage the power of soccer specifically. So for us, that's one of the biggest keys to our program is leveraging youth that already kind of have that passion for sport and might then be able to leverage that to help them on to the next stages. So youth that come into our academic program already kind of have that passion for soccer.
Right.
And that's a key is one, bringing them through soccer. And that leads to actually a real range of youth coming from a range of different backgrounds. As I know, the Heisman Trophy Trust supports a range of different organizations that leverage the passion of sport. And I think that's the key for all, the connector for all of our organizations is we're finding youth that have that passion, but maybe don't yet have that connection to academics or that boost that they need to get onto the next stage, even though they love maybe being on the field or on the court. So that's kind of the connector for us. And youth will come in through a range of different backgrounds. We have some youth that are not in school at all, but go out and play soccer. So how do we get them into school? We have youth that are really struggling in school or don't speak English and need that boost. And then we have youth that might come in that are doing well in their schools, but have never had that college prep support, don't have a family member or parent that has gone to college. So they don't, and their school maybe is overwhelmed. They have one college counselor for hundreds of kids, so they don't have that individual attention they need to go on the next stage. So it's youth coming from a range of different backgrounds. We do have a requirement that they live either here in the Bronx or in the northern Manhattan, that they have their family income is not more than 2 times the poverty rate. So there are, and that they can attend all of our academic programs. It's not just about coming to practice. They have to be able to attend our academic programs. Other than that, again, they could come in without even being enrolled in school. They could come in struggling, failing all their classes. That's not a barrier to us. It's making sure they can be here, and then we can work with them. So that's the key. And within that academic program, we work with about 200 middle and high school students annually. So again, there's so many more we hope to be able to reach over time as we can grow our services. But anyone that comes in is able to, we're able to work with them and provide them that boost onto the next stage.
Leveraging soccer to get kids interested in school and education is one thing. I would imagine sometimes you get kids that are maybe able to leverage their talent in soccer to go on to bigger and better things. Do you ever come across kids where you're like, this kid's really good, and you have to get on the phone with the coach in the soccer community somewhere and say, hey, you got to keep an eye on this kid, or this is a kid that has the talent to make it at the next level?
We do. Yeah, we have some tremendous players, and there's on an occasion that we'll recommend a kid over to another program. So recently we had an 11-year-old that just made the New York City FC's academy team. And New York City FC is familiar, is the professional team here in New York City, connected with MLS. And they have a tremendous soccer program. And we always want to make sure that they're also supported kind of academically. But so that's a pretty rare case for most of our kids. We're looking to figure out how to support them and use that soccer talent onto college. And we have youth that will go on, and that it helps them kind of get into college, whether it's through scholarships or get recruited. And it's something we're continuing to build on, even though we've been going for 15 years. There's always more we can do. And I think that's one area how we're trying to figure out is continue to strengthen that recruitment piece, because it's hard to actually bring college coaches and folks into the Bronx. It's not as it's different perhaps than basketball, where folks are looking directly into the inner cities. We don't see that as much on the soccer side, but we do leverage the talent that a lot of youth have on the field to get them into that next stage often.
Coaches, all you have to do is take the 4, 5, 6, go right up. You'll be fine. If anyone wants to find it. You guys are located in the shadow of Yankee Stadium. You actually have a field right outside of it. Is that right? Yeah,
we do a lot of our programs right in McCombs Dam Park, which is right across the street. Provides great photos. It's part of the New York City Parks Department, so we're fortunate to them. So we do a lot of our programming there on a few parks around the Yankee Stadium area, and another in the South Bronx. But we also opened our clubhouse 2 years ago, So just a block from the stadium, we have our offices and a little clubhouse with a mini soccer field inside and a classroom. So it's a nice space for kids to come hang out during after school time. It's kind of that safe space for them. We also do classes on the weekends. We'll do practices for younger kids, and we'll do classes for little kids, 2 to 3, 4 years old as well. So it's a fun space for kids to come hang out. And again, it's right next to the stadium.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one of the newer initiatives you have is a partnership with a coffee house, which serves as one of the many work opportunities that older members of the program can access to get real world experience. Any Yankees ever pop in for a pregame cup of Joe?
Yeah. So it's not only a partnership. We actually opened the Clubhouse Cafe earlier this year in January. It's totally run by the organization, fully operated by us. It's a part of the nonprofit. So if someone drops in and gets espresso, tea, coffee, pastry, lemonade, whatever they do, it goes right back to the organization. And the young people that are working there are part of our program. So they've gone through our workforce development program where they do weekly job skill workshops and then get paid employment to work in the cafe, or they also could work on the field as coaches. So if you're ever coming to a Yankee game or NYCFC game, you can stop by before to come to the Clubhouse Cafe just a block away and help young people train and get jobs and build their resumes while also supporting the organization and our programs directly. And to your question, yeah, actually just recently, a couple of weeks ago, we had Nestor Cortez, Clay Holmes, and Matt Tonkin come in, 3 pitchers come into and really enjoyed it, and then took home some espresso to the clubhouse. And
awesome.
I think before our pre-games, they're making sure all the Yankees are getting their pre-game espressos. But it was great to have them stop on by, and we welcome anyone to come on by and support the organization, but also get a great cup of tea or whatever suits you.
Fantastic. Yours is a year-round program, offers 48 weeks of programming. How much does the support of the Heisman Trophy Trust mean to South Bronx United?
The support is really tremendous. As I mentioned before, we're supported fully, almost fully through private support. We fundraise 90% of our annual budget to make it all work. And it's through really tremendous institutions and funders like the Heisman Trophy Trust and the Fund for Youth Development. So it's specifically supported our Coach Mentors initiative. And that's the Coach Mentors are such a key part of our program because that's really the glue for our young people. And as you can imagine, I don't know if you must have played sports, and so many listeners, I'm sure, did. Your coach is really the key. They're the main connector for you. And they provide, and having a positive mentor that really supports you and provides that support network. And it's thinking about what's going on, not just on the field or in that game, but you as a person and how to support you off the field as well. And that's what we've really developed through the support of the Heisman Trophy Fund. And it's about developing well-trained coach mentors that know how to provide that social emotional support beyond just how to make a great soccer player. It's how to develop a great person to be that support for them. So we've been continuing the process of professionalizing that and bringing in really strong coach mentors, training them well. And this year we've made the shift, actually hiring 2 full-time coach mentors that can coach multiple teams, are on full-time staff, work on other initiatives like our girls advancement programming, bringing more girls in the program, or working with English language learners and supporting them that maybe don't come in with strong English skills and helping them on and off the field through that. So we've been really fortunate that Heisman Trophy Trust has supported that initiative and supported over the years as well as we've strengthened that really core bridge in our program, our core coach mentors.
You mentioned earlier about just the number of immigrants and recent arrivees to the country, and how you're on the front lines helping these youth and families. And the environment right now is not always so welcoming to immigrants. How rewarding is that to show these youth that this is like you said, a safe space, a place where they're welcome, a place where they're valued? Yeah,
tremendously. And I think one of the main things our youth say is this feels like a family to them when they come in, and they found another family that's there to support them in whatever way they need. And youth come from so many different challenges, obstacles in their background, whether it's from them or their parents moving here to this country, or whether it's the day-to-day things that they face here in the South Bronx, and that we're able to support them with it. And sometimes it's heartbreaking, but often it's really rewarding to see the difference that we can make, and that our teams can make, that our coach mentors, that our staff, that social workers, everyone that's there can make. And we know that young people and their families are just coming here looking to find someone that can support them, find a better life, finding whatever that might be to help them and overcome all those challenges. And we're really glad to kind of be the ones that can, because we know there is so much need, and want to be part of that community network that's able to support them.
Yeah, we love highlighting the many great organizations such as yours, especially in the hope that we can inspire people to get involved. Tell our listeners how they can support South Bronx United and how they can get involved. Yeah,
there's so many ways. I mean, if you're here in New York, if you're listening from New York, you can easy way come up to the Clubhouse Cafe that I mentioned and stop in. That's the easy way anyone can support. Come in person, experience it. I'm
going to do that next time I'm in New York. I'm coming up for coffee.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be great. And ping me when you're there, and we'll come meet. But
for sure.
So that's easy. Literally, anyone can stop in. Folks can also get involved as volunteers. As I mentioned, we have a volunteer network of over 300 individuals, so you can give your time, whether it's a one-off event or whether it's coming up to coach. You don't even need, you could be a football player, American football player, but maybe have a passion for work with kids and want to work with 4, 5, 6-year-olds all the way up through 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds. So that's a way. And then from anywhere, you can support our organization by supporting our campaigns. You can donate at southbronxunited.org/donate. You can check us out on social media and online. Just check out South Bronx United, or even the Clubhouse Cafe BX, and check out both of those and support us online. And we have initiatives coming up. We have our annual benefit coming up in November. Folks can support by attending or supporting that event. We have a campaign in the spring called The Power of 11, which is a big campaign folks can support. You can also order gear, order a sweatshirt, a jersey, or whatever at our on our website as well, from the cafe or from the organization. It gets sent to you too. So a lot of ways to support.
Get some new swag over here. Andrew So of South Bronx United, thank you so much for coming on the show. The Heisman is very proud to work with you, and we are in awe of the work you do. And all we can say is just keep up the good work.
Thanks so much, Chris. I look forward to seeing you at the cafe soon.
And that does it for this week's show. Next week, I'm not sure who we're having on, but it's going to be somebody very, very, very good. Have a great week. The official Heisman Trophy podcast streams every Wednesday during the college football season and is hosted, co-produced, edited, and engineered by Chris Houston. Paul Goldberg is the executive producer and editor. Special shout out to Isaac Lowenkron, and big thanks to the Heisman Trophy Trust and its executive director Rob Whalen and associate director Tim Henning. The official Heisman Trophy podcast can be found on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also find clips of our show on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Just go to @Heisman Trophy.